let's proceed directly to our discussion. We only have one discussion, and that is Dr. Edimon Ginting, senior economist, senior country economist, Indonesia resident mission of the Asian Development Bank. The Asian Development Bank has been involved in preparing materials for infrastructure development in East Asia, including what we call here ASEAN Roadmap of Connectivity. And I think we can expect from Pak Ginting perhaps good comments on what was presented by Pak Lukita, particularly in respect of what is to be done to make the big plan a reality. I know something big is cooked in Indonesia, but ensuring realization is even much more difficult than putting a plan together. Can I now request Pak Edimon Ginting to make his comments within the limits of 8 minutes, Pak? Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Isman, for your kind introductions. Welcome, everyone, to Jakarta. I think it is remarkable. I've been here for 2 years. I think I've seen many remarkable things in terms of economic development. And also, I would like to thank you, Pak Lukita, for his excellent presentations. It certainly makes my job a lot easier to comment. I think my job today is more towards highlighting some of the key development lessons that we can take away from the MP3EI, MP3EI Master Plan for Accelerating Economic Development in Indonesia. Let me just focus on 3 things to make it simple. The first comment will be on strategic issues. My second comment will be on the focus of MP3I itself. And my last comment will focus on the implementations, as our moderator was mentioning. On strategic point of view, I think MP3EI serve very, very strategic role here in Indonesia. Yeah. I think in the context of declining growth globally, increasing development challenge also locally here, I think it is very important to have a very strong sense of directions. And in my view, MP3EI provide that. In terms of direction, in terms of destination, I haven't really seen many politicians here in the country that challenge that point of view. So in my view, those directions are fully bought by many politicians in the country also. So it can be a political statement for the country. Yeah? And secondly, the MP3I give a strong sense of feeling for bureaucrat here that business as usual is not the way to go. Okay, in my view, even the past growth, 6.5, 6.3, is no longer achievable with a business as usual approach. So a new way has to come. That bring productive discussion on what reform to do. And a lot of the reform that are listed in MP3I I think are a key one. Okay? Pak Lukita already mentioned a number of them that has been done, and it ranges not only in terms of regulatory framework, but also covering investment climate and so on. And the third issue, the third key things in terms of strategic point of view is that MP3I embrace all stakeholders. Okay, if you look at how it will be implemented, I think Pak Lukita mentioned it'll require all stakeholders to participate: government, private sector, PPP, and so on. I think that is, in my view, something that after I learned development in a number of Asian development member countries, I think Indonesia is only a few countries that have this one. We did some study last year on Asia 2050 with realizing the Asian century. basically, some of the key messages there is actually, to address some of these challenges. And Indonesia, by having this, I guess, is they are sort of ahead in terms of focusing the energy to address that challenge. I think that will be my first comment. And the second one is on the focus. I think it is hard to disagree with the three focus that mentioned by Pak Lukita. Developing economic corridors, 6 corridors in the country. To me, that is the policy to broaden the base of growth in the country. The critique will tell you that Indonesian economy is too reliant on resource, too reliant on agriculture, premier commodity, basic commodities. And that cannot bring the country into a higher level. That alone cannot bring the country, although will continue to be important, but that alone cannot bring the country into a higher level. So developing 6 corridors, in my view, that is a way of expanding the source of economic growth, and not only in west part of Jakarta, but it's broadened to other part of the country as well. The second is about economic connectivity. Yeah? Connectivity, in my view, is at 3 levels. The first and important one is within an island. Indonesia is a country of so many islands. Connectivity within the island is key. And after that is connecting the whole island, connectivity between islands. And after that, then connecting the country to the world through international connectivity. If you look at the profile of poverty in Indonesia, I think you will see that poverty in the less connected island, say the eastern part of Indonesia, is much higher than poverty here in the city. Therefore, connectivity, in my view, one of the prerequisites for poverty reduction in the eastern part of Indonesia, and also poverty in the rural is higher. Therefore, connectivity within island is also key in reducing poverty within rural areas. And one important challenge for the country actually is to create more productive employment for many labor force. 62% of our labor force are working in informal sector. So it is important to have productive sector to be competitive, and connectivity internationally, improved connectivity internationally will do just that. I think that will improve employment generation in the country to reduce poverty even further. I think that is important. I think I can't argue against that. And the last focus of the MP3UI is actually the human development. I think development is not only about infrastructure, it's not only about economics, development, corridors. It is about people, eventually. And it has that component there. I think eventually it's about people. And when I said to you, the development here is about creating more jobs for the labor force. 62% still working in the informal sector, and their education level is still very, very low. And therefore, again, human development focus is really key. And now let me move on the implementation part. I think let me focus on the positive part first. In my view, the government has established the institutions to implement this MP3I. I think that institutions consist of many working groups and also important coordinations has been issued between government in terms of implementation and things like that. I think that is key. Yeah. Indonesia is a massive country. Therefore, coordination is key in terms of achieving the result. And you hear from Pak Lukita, I think the government is measuring progress every quarterly or every 6 months. So they announce groundbreaking. They show achievement of this MP3I every quarter. And that's, again, it's a good practice to have to measure our progress vis-a-vis our promise to the people. I think that is some good development lesson that we can take away. But the key critique that we often hear about MP3I is about progress. Yeah, I think people want it to happen faster. Pak Lukita said the key story in Indonesia is that Indonesia continues to be below its potential, and there seems to be impatience out there that we should be closer to our potential more quickly. But as was highlighted by Pak Jisman, this is a massive country. This is a massive undertaking in a massive country, and not to mention that this is also a maturing democracy. So I think Pak Lugita was mentioning PPP, public-private partnership. I think another element of this MP3I should be another PPP, patience, patience, patience. I think that is also important. Let me close my comment with a positive note. I think yes, I think there will be a lot of challenge in terms of implementation of MPTI. But if you look at the history in the past, in the last 15 years or so, on Indonesia, I think Indonesia has been through a lot of challenge. Has been through two crises. One is massive Asian crisis, and then global economic crisis, and recently, global economic slowdown. They managed really well to maneuver the economy through that one. Not to mention, the country was also experiencing one of the biggest decentralization exercise in the country, where during the first year of implementation, people would think that this will turn negative. But again, the country proved that it can sustain even that challenge. In my view, the implementations of MP3I is a positive challenge to have. Okay, if the country is able to sustain even negative challenge in the past, that will bring them a lot of experience in turning this positive challenge into result. Yes, we need more government spending on infrastructure. There is still need to improve allocations of the budget and things like that. But in my view, that is just a matter of time. I think I will stop there. Thank you very much.